The fluorescent lights in the hospital waiting room buzzed like angry insects. Renee Thompson sat in a hard plastic chair, her worn blue dress smoothed over her knees for the 100th time. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Across from her, 6-year-old Amara lay curled on 2 chairs pushed together, her small body too thin, her breathing too shallow. The medical bills in Renee's purse felt like stones, each one heavier than the last. $3,000 for the emergency room visit last week. $1,200 for medications. $800 for the specialist consultation. Numbers that might as well have been millions. She had exactly $43 in her checking account. Rent was due yesterday. Actually, rent had been due 2 months ago. The eviction notice crinkled in her purse every time she moved, a paper ghost haunting every moment. 21 days to vacate. 3 weeks to figure out where a single mother and her sick daughter would sleep, what address she'd give for Amara's school, how she'd explain to her baby girl that they had to leave the only home she'd ever known. The doctor had been kind but firm during this morning's appointment. Amara needed consistent treatment. The medication couldn't be skipped. Without it, the autoimmune condition would get worse. Much worse. Renee had nodded, smiled, promised she understood. But understanding didn't put food on the table or pay for prescription refills or keep a roof over their heads. Miss Thompson? A nurse appeared at the doorway. The discharge papers are ready. Renee stood, her legs unsteady. She'd been awake for 36 hours straight, working double shifts at the grocery store, then rushing to the hospital when the school called about Amara feeling sick. She'd spent the morning here while her manager left 3 angry voicemails about missing her shift. That job was probably gone now too. She gathered Amara gently in her arms. Her daughter stirred but didn't wake. So light. Too light. When had she last had a proper meal? Renee blinked back tears as she signed the discharge forms, accepted the prescription paper she had no money to fill, and walked toward the exit. The afternoon sun hit her face as she stepped outside. October in the city meant cool air and changing leaves. It should have been beautiful. Instead, everything looked gray. She adjusted Amara in her arms and started walking toward the bus stop. No money for a taxi. The bus would take an hour with transfers, but it was free with her pass. Halfway down the block, a paper flyer taped to a lamppost caught her eye. Bold letters announced, Bennett Industries hiring event today, all positions walk-ins welcome 2 to 5 p.m. Below that, an address just 4 blocks away. Renee stopped walking. Her arms ached from carrying Amara. Her feet hurt in the old flats she'd worn through at the heels. Every part of her body screamed for rest. But something in her chest, some stubborn flame that refused to die, flickered stronger. 4 blocks. She could make 4 blocks. Maybe they needed someone to clean offices. Maybe they needed help in the cafeteria. Any job, any money, was better than watching her daughter suffer because she couldn't provide. She shifted Amara higher in her arms and changed direction. Bennett Industries occupied a gleaming tower of glass and steel. The kind of building Renee usually walked past without looking up, knowing it wasn't for people like her. But today she pushed through the rotating doors, her head high despite everything. The lobby was all marble floors and modern art. A security guard looked up from his desk. "Can I help you?" "I'm here for the hiring event," Renee said. Her voice came out stronger than she felt. The guard consulted his clipboard. "That's on the 3rd floor. Elevators are to your right." "Thank you." She headed for the elevators, whispering to Amara, "Just a little longer, baby. Mama's going to fix everything." The elevator doors opened. A small group of people in professional clothes stood waiting. They looked at her sleeping child, at her worn dress and scuffed shoes. Renee lifted her chin and stepped inside. She pressed the button for the 3rd floor. The elevator climbed. Renee watched the numbers light up. 1, 2, 3. But the doors didn't open. 4, 5, 6. Someone must have pressed a higher floor. The elevator kept rising. 10, 15, 20. The other passengers got off at various floors until Renee stood alone with her sleeping daughter. 28, 29, 30. The elevator stopped. The doors opened onto a quiet hallway with thick carpet and expensive artwork. A sign on the wall read, "Executive Offices Private." Renee hesitated. This wasn't right. But before she could press the button to go back down, a woman in a green business suit walked past. "Are you here for the 2:30? The woman asked, glancing at her watch. Yes. Renee wasn't sure what the 2:30 was, but saying yes seemed safer than explaining her confusion. "Conference room is right through there. He's running a few minutes behind, so you have time to get settled." The woman gestured to a door at the end of the hall, then disappeared into another office. Renee stood frozen for a moment. Something felt wrong about this. But the woman had seemed to expect her. Maybe they were conducting interviews up here too. Maybe this was some kind of test to see if candidates could find their way. Her mind spun with possibilities, none of them quite making sense through the fog of exhaustion. She walked down the hallway, her footsteps silent on the plush carpet. The door to the conference room stood slightly open. Inside, a long polished table reflected the light from floor-to-ceiling windows. The view stretched out over the entire city. Renee had never seen her home from this high up. She settled Amara carefully on a leather couch against one wall. Her daughter sighed but didn't wake. Then Renee sat at the conference table, smoothing her dress again, trying to look like someone who belonged here. Her heart hammered in her chest. This didn't feel like a job interview for cleaning staff or cafeteria work. The room itself probably cost more than she'd earned in her entire life. But she was here now. And she needed a job so desperately that pride or confusion or fear couldn't matter. She would sit here, answer whatever questions they asked, and hope for any chance at all. The door opened. A man walked in. He was tall, probably late 30s, with dark hair and eyes the color of warm honey. His suit was perfectly tailored, navy with a subtle pattern. Everything about him spoke of wealth and power, but his face held unexpected kindness. He looked at her, then glanced at some papers in his hand, then back at her. "I apologize for running behind," he said, setting the papers on the table. "Traffic was terrible. I'm Harrison Bennett." Renee's mouth went dry. "Bennett? As in Bennett Industries? The owner? The CEO?" The millionaire whose face she'd seen on business magazines in the grocery store checkout line. She'd walked into the wrong interview. Have you ever made a mistake that changed your life forever? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to see how Renee's story unfolds. Sometimes the wrong door leads to exactly where we need to be. Harrison Bennett prided himself on reading people. 20 years of building his company from a small tech startup in his garage to a multimillion-dollar enterprise had taught him to assess character quickly. The woman sitting at his conference table was not who he expected. For one thing, she was terrified. He could see it in the way her hands gripped the edge of the table, knuckles pale against her brown skin. For another, she had a child sleeping on his couch. That was definitely not in the brief his assistant had sent about today's meeting. He set down his papers and sat across from her, taking his time. Something was off here, but he found himself curious rather than annoyed. "I have to confess," he said gently, "I think there might be some confusion. I was expecting to meet with a potential business partner about a merger. Can you tell me who you're here to see?" The woman's eyes widened. She looked at the sleeping child, then back at him, and he watched as understanding and horror crossed her face in equal measure. She stood up abruptly, the chair rolling back. "I'm so sorry. I'm in the wrong place. I was supposed to go to the 3rd floor for the hiring event, but the elevator kept going and someone said, I thought." Her voice cracked. "I'll leave right now. I'm sorry." She moved toward the couch to gather the child, and that's when Harrison saw the eviction notice fall from her purse. The paper fluttered to the carpet, its official letterhead facing up. 21 days to vacate. The notice was 2 weeks old already. "Wait," Harrison said. He didn't know why. His meeting could arrive any minute. He had a full schedule this afternoon. But something about the way this woman held herself, the dignity in her posture despite her obvious exhaustion, made him want to understand. "Please, sit down for a moment." She froze, her hand on the child's shoulder. "Sir, I really should go. I've wasted your time." "My time is mine to waste." He smiled, trying to put her at ease. "And technically my 2:30 is late, so you're not keeping me from anything. What's your name?" She hesitated, then slowly moved back to the table. But she didn't sit. "Renee Thompson." "It's nice to meet you, Renee. That's your daughter?" "Yes, Mara. She's 6. She's not feeling well and Renee took a breath. "I saw the flyer about your hiring event. I need work. Any work. I'm a hard worker, I'm reliable, I can do anything you need. I need a chance." The exhaustion in her voice was profound. Harrison found himself leaning forward, his business instincts fading into simple human concern. "When did you last sleep?" The question seemed to surprise her. Yesterday morning, I think. Maybe the day before. I've been working double shifts." "Sit down." It wasn't a request this time. "Please." She sat, her spine straight despite her obvious fatigue. Harrison noticed details now. The blue dress was clean but worn at the seams. Her shoes had holes in the soles. But her hair was neatly pulled back, and there was a quiet strength in the set of her shoulders. "Tell me what's happening," he said. "The truth." Renee looked at him for a long moment. He expected her to deflect, to give him some polished story. Instead, she told him everything. She told him about Amara's autoimmune disorder, diagnosed 2 years ago. About the medical bills that destroyed her savings. About her ex-husband who walked out when things got hard, leaving her to manage everything alone. About losing her better-paying job when she had to take too much time off for hospital visits. About the grocery store job that barely covered food, let alone rent and medicine. About the eviction notice. About this morning's hospital visit and the medication she couldn't afford to fill. She spoke calmly, stating facts without self-pity or drama. It was the matter-of-fact tone that got to Harrison. This woman had clearly stopped expecting sympathy or help. She was simply explaining her situation because he'd asked. When she finished, silence filled the room. Harrison sat back in his chair, processing everything. He'd grown up with money, but his father had made sure he understood that not everyone was so fortunate. His company had good benefits, fair wages, and community programs. But sitting across from someone living through this level of struggle put everything in sharp perspective. "What were you hoping to find at the hiring event?" he asked. "Anything," Renee said simply. "Cleaning crew, cafeteria staff, mailroom. I type fast. I'm good with numbers. I can file, answer phones. I'll work nights, weekends, whatever you need. I just need enough to pay rent and cover Amara's medication." "What's your educational background?" 2 years of community college. Business administration. I had to drop out when Amara got sick, but I was doing well. 3.7 GPA. Harrison pulled out his phone and sent a quick text to his assistant. "Cancel my 2:30. Reschedule for tomorrow." Then he looked back at Renee. "I have a proposal," he said. "My personal assistant recently left to have a baby. I need someone organized, intelligent, and capable of handling a demanding schedule. The job comes with full health benefits starting immediately, including coverage for dependents. The salary is $75,000 a year to start." Renee stared at him. "I don't understand. I'm offering you a job as my personal assistant. But, you don't know me. You don't know if I can do the work. This is..." She shook her head. "This is charity." "It's opportunity," Harrison corrected. "You said you're good with numbers and organization. Are you?" "Yes." "Can you handle a busy calendar, coordinate meetings, manage correspondence, and keep confidential information confidential?" "Yes." "Then you can do this job." "And Renee?" He leaned forward. "I didn't build this company by making bad hiring decisions. You walked in here with nothing to gain by being honest, and you told me the truth anyway. That's worth more than any resume." Tears welled in her eyes. "Why would you do this?" "Because you need help and I need an assistant. It's that simple." He pulled a business card from his pocket and wrote on the back. "This is my assistant's number. Call her tomorrow morning. She'll set up your paperwork and get you oriented. Benefits start immediately, so get Amara's medication filled tomorrow. Send the receipt to HR, they'll reimburse you." Renee took the card with shaking hands. She looked at it, then at him, then back at the card. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes." "Yes." The word came out as a whisper. "Yes, thank you. I'll work harder than anyone. I promise you won't regret this." Harrison smiled. "I believe you. Now go home. Get some sleep. Kiss your daughter. Fill those prescriptions. Come in Monday morning at 8 and we'll get started." Renee stood, still clutching the card like a lifeline. She moved to the couch and gently lifted Amara into her arms. The little girl stirred, opened her eyes halfway and mumbled, "Mama?" "We're going home, baby," Renee said softly. "Everything's going to be okay now." She walked to the door, then turned back. "Mr. Bennett?" "Harrison," he said. "If we're going to work together, call me Harrison." "Harrison." She smiled and it transformed her whole face. "Thank you for seeing me. Not just meeting with me. Seeing me." After she left, Harrison sat alone in the conference room for a long time. He'd made business decisions worth millions, negotiated deals that changed his company's trajectory, hired hundreds of employees. But something about this felt different. Important in a way he couldn't quite name. He picked up his phone and called his assistant. "Julie, I need you to add something to Monday's schedule. Block off an hour for orientation with our new assistant, Renee Thompson." "Yes, I hired her myself. It's a long story. Also, can you have someone from HR call me? I want to make sure her benefits paperwork is expedited." When he hung up, he realized he was smiling. Maybe it was the look on Renee's face when she'd said yes. Maybe it was knowing that little girl would get her medication. Or maybe it was something else entirely, a feeling he couldn't quite identify. Whatever it was, Harrison Bennett had the distinct sense that this accidental interview was going to change more than just Renee Thompson's life. Monday morning arrived bright and cold. Renee stood outside Bennett Industries at 7:45, clutching a travel mug of coffee she'd made at home and wearing a green blouse she'd found at a thrift store over the weekend. It was professional, clean, and most importantly, it had cost $3. With her first paycheck still weeks away, every penny counted. But for the first time in months, Renee wasn't drowning in panic. Amara's medication sat safely in their cabinet, paid for with a temporary advance Harrison's assistant Julie had arranged. The eviction notice no longer kept her awake at night because she'd called her landlord Saturday morning with the news of her new job. He'd agreed to let her catch up on rent with her first paycheck, holding off the eviction process. Everything felt different. The air felt cleaner. The sky seemed brighter. Hope was a strange sensation after living without it for so long. She entered the building at 7:55, checked in with security, and took the elevator to the 30th floor. This time on purpose. Julie met her at the elevator. She was a kind-faced woman in her early 50s with gray-streaked hair and smile lines around her eyes. "You must be Renee. I'm so glad to meet you. Come on, I'll show you your desk and we'll get started on the orientation." The morning passed in a blur of information. Julie showed her the phone system, the filing setup, Harrison's calendar software, and the 100 small details that kept an executive's day running smoothly. Renee took notes on everything, her hand cramping from writing so fast. "Don't worry," Julie said, laughing at Renee's expression. "It seems like a lot now, but you'll get the hang of it. Harrison is demanding but fair. He doesn't expect perfection, just honest effort." "Why are you leaving?" Renee asked. "If you don't mind me asking." Julie's face softened. "My daughter is having a baby. My first grandchild. She lives 3 states away and I want to be there to help." Harrison understood immediately. That's the kind of man he is. He makes tough business decisions, but he remembers that people have lives outside these walls. At noon, Harrison emerged from his office. He wore a gray suit today, and his tie was already loosened like he'd been working hard since early morning. "How's the orientation going?" "Good," Renee said, then corrected herself. "Really well. Julie is an excellent teacher." "She is." Harrison smiled at Julie. "Any problems?" "None," Julie said. "Renee is picking everything up quickly. She'll be ready to take over next week." "Actually," Harrison said, looking at Renee, "I thought we could do a working lunch. Julie, do you mind if I steal her for an hour?" "Not at all. I'll be here organizing files." Harrison gestured for Renee to follow him. Instead of heading to the elevator, he led her to a small dining room adjacent to the executive offices. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. A table was set with sandwiches, soup, and fresh fruit. "I hope you don't mind," Harrison said as they sat. "I figured we should talk about expectations, and this is easier than trying to do it between meetings." "This is wonderful," Renee said honestly. She'd packed a peanut butter sandwich for lunch, now safely in her purse. The spread looked like something from a restaurant. They ate while Harrison explained his work style. He liked his calendar organized by priority, not just time. He needed someone who could anticipate problems and head them off. He traveled occasionally and would need help coordinating those trips. Most importantly, he valued honesty above everything else. "If you make a mistake, tell me," he said. "If you don't understand something, ask. If you're overwhelmed, say so. I can't fix problems I don't know about." "I understand," Renee said. "And Harrison, I want you to know I'm grateful, but I'm not going to let gratitude make me a bad employee. I'll do excellent work because that's who I am, not just because you helped me." Harrison's expression grew thoughtful. "That's exactly the attitude I was hoping for. How is Amara? Did you get her medication?" "Yes. She took her first dose Saturday night. Thank you for making that happen so quickly." Renee paused, then added, "She asked about you. She remembers falling asleep in your office. She said you have a kind face." Harrison laughed and the sound was warm. "Smart kid. Tell her I said hello." They finished lunch and returned to the main office area. The afternoon brought more training, more systems to learn, more details to absorb. By 5 o'clock, Renee's head swam with information. But underneath the exhaustion was excitement. She could do this. She was good at organizing, good at anticipating needs, good at staying calm under pressure. This job was challenging, but it fit her strengths perfectly. Julie left at 5:30 with final instructions and encouragement. "You're going to be great," she said, hugging Renee at the elevator. Harrison made the right choice. Renee worked until 6, wanting to review her notes one more time. When she finally gathered her things to leave, she noticed light still showing under Harrison's office door. She knocked gently. "Come in," he called. She opened the door. Harrison sat at his desk, tie completely off now, his jacket draped over his chair. Papers surrounded him, and his computer screen glowed with spreadsheets. "I wanted to say good night," Renee said. "And thank you again. For everything." Harrison looked up. In the evening light, his eyes seemed even warmer than before. "You don't have to keep thanking me, Renee. This is a job. You're going to earn every penny." "I know. But I also know you didn't have to give me this chance. So thank you. I'll see you tomorrow." She turned to go, but his voice stopped her. "Renee? For what it's worth, I'm glad you got on the wrong elevator." She smiled back at him. "So am I." The bus ride home felt different than usual. Renee watched the city pass by her window and felt something she hadn't experienced in years: anticipation for tomorrow. Not dread. Not anxiety. Just simple, quiet anticipation. When she got home, Amara was doing homework at their small kitchen table. Her babysitter, Mrs. Chin from next door, sat reading a magazine. The older woman looked up with a smile. "She had a good day," Mrs. Chin reported. "Ate all her dinner. Did her reading. How was your first day?" "Perfect," Renee said. She paid Mrs. Chin, thanked her profusely, and locked the door behind her. Amara looked up from her math worksheet. "Mama, you're smiling. You don't smile when you come home from the grocery store." Renee laughed and pulled her daughter into a hug. "That's because this is a much better job, baby. With better people." "Is it the man with the kind face?" "Yes. Mr. Bennett is my new boss." Amara considered this. "He gave you tissues when you were crying. I remember now. He's nice." "He is nice," Renee agreed. She helped Amara finish her homework, made them both hot chocolate, and read 3 bedtime stories instead of the usual one. Later, alone in her own room, Renee pulled out the business card Harrison had given her that first day. She kept it in her wallet, touching it occasionally over the weekend to make sure this was real and not some exhaustion-induced dream. The card was real. The job was real. The change in her life was real. She set the card on her nightstand where she could see it first thing in the morning. Then she turned off the light and fell asleep without fear for the first time in months. 3 weeks passed in a blur of learning and adjustment. Renee arrived at the office each morning at 7:30, a full 30 minutes before she needed to, wanting to be prepared before Harrison's day began. She mastered his calendar system, learned to anticipate which meetings would run long, and figured out how he liked his coffee. Black, 2 sugars, but only after 10 a.m. The work was challenging, but Renee thrived on it. Her brain, dulled by months of survival mode, woke up again. She found herself thinking 3 steps ahead, organizing not just what Harrison needed today but what he'd need next week. She built spreadsheets to track his projects, created filing systems that made sense, and slowly, steadily, made herself indispensable. Harrison noticed. "You reorganized the client files," he said one morning, standing at her desk with a folder in his hand. Renee looked up, worried she'd overstepped. "I'm sorry, I should have asked first. I just thought if we categorized them by project status instead of alphabet, it would be easier to find active accounts. I can change it back." "Don't you dare." Harrison smiled. "This is brilliant. I've been looking for the Morrison file for 3 days. Now I can actually find things. Thank you." He walked back into his office and Renee released the breath she'd been holding. She was learning that Harrison wasn't the type to micromanage. He hired people he trusted and let them work. It was freeing in a way she hadn't expected. At home, life improved even more dramatically. Amara's health stabilized with consistent medication and regular checkups covered by the company insurance. The little girl started gaining weight, her energy returning week by week. She joined the school's art club and came home chattering about painting and clay sculptures. Renee paid off her back rent with her first paycheck. The landlord, Mr. Rodriguez, a grandfather of 5, actually smiled at her for the first time in months. "I'm glad things turned around," he said. "You're a good tenant. I didn't want to evict you." With her second paycheck, Renee bought groceries without checking every price. The freedom to put fresh fruit in her cart, to choose the better cut of meat, to buy Amara a treat just because, almost brought her to tears in the middle of the produce aisle. She also bought a new dress for work. A maroon one, professional and pretty, that actually fit properly. When she wore it to the office, Harrison's assistant Julie, who was in her final week before leaving for her daughter's state, whistled. "Look at you," Julie said. "That color is perfect on you." Harrison walked by, stopped, looked at Renee for a long moment, then said, "That's a nice dress." His voice was carefully neutral, but something in his expression made her pulse quicken. "Thank you," she managed. He continued to his office and Julie leaned over to whisper. He noticed. "Good." "Julie," Renee protested, but she was smiling. The older woman just winked and went back to her desk. That afternoon, Harrison called Renee into his office for what he said was a project meeting. She brought her notepad and pen ready to take notes. Instead, he gestured for her to sit in one of the comfortable chairs by his window rather than across from his desk. "I wanted to talk to you about something," Harrison said, settling into the chair beside hers. The casual arrangement felt different, more personal. "I've been impressed with your work these past few weeks. You're organized, proactive, and you understand the business faster than I expected." "Thank you," Renee said. "I enjoy the work." "Good. Because I want to teach you more. I don't want you to just manage my calendar. I want you to understand what we do here, why we make the decisions we make. Would you be interested in learning the business side?" Renee's heart skipped. "Are you serious?" "Completely. You're smart, Renee. You dropped out of college because life got hard, not because you couldn't handle the work. I think you could understand this business as well as anyone. Better, maybe, because you bring a different perspective." "I would love that," Renee said honestly. "I've been reading the files when I have downtime, trying to understand the projects. I didn't want to bother you with basic questions, so I've been figuring things out on my own." Harrison leaned back, looking pleased. "See? That's exactly what I mean. Most assistants would just do the tasks assigned. You're thinking bigger. So here's what I propose. I'll start including you in more meetings. Not just to take notes, but to observe and learn. Ask me questions. Challenge my thinking. Let's see where this goes." "I won't let you down," Renee promised. "I know you won't." The next week, true to his word, Harrison brought Renee into meetings. She sat quietly at first, absorbing everything. The way he negotiated with vendors. The questions he asked his team. The balance between being firm and being fair. After a particularly tense meeting about a delayed project, they walked back to the office together. "What did you think?" Harrison asked. "I think you could have pushed harder on the deadline," Renee said carefully. "But you didn't because you know the team is already stressed. You balanced getting results with keeping morale intact." Harrison stopped walking and looked at her. "That's exactly right. Most people focus on one or the other. Understanding both is what makes a good leader." "You're a good leader," Renee said. "I've been watching. People respect you, but they also trust you. That's rare." "Thank you." His voice was soft. "That means more than you know." They stood in the hallway, the late afternoon sun streaming through the windows, and something shifted between them. Not dramatically, not obviously. But Renee felt it. A connection forming, deeper than boss and assistant, richer than simple friendship. Harrison seemed to feel it too. He cleared his throat. "We should get back. I have a call with Tokyo in 10 minutes. "Right. Of course." Renee followed him back to their offices, but her mind was elsewhere. That evening she picked up Amara from Mrs. Chen's apartment. Her daughter was full of stories about school, about her art project, about her friend's birthday party next week. "Can I go, Mama?" Amara asked as they walked home. "Please? It's at the park and there's going to be a cake and games." "Of course you can go," Renee said. "We'll get your friend a nice present." Amara hugged her tight. "You're the best, Mama." Renee kissed the top of her daughter's head. "You're the best daughter." Later, after Amara was asleep, Renee sat at her small kitchen table with a cup of tea. She thought about Harrison, about the way he'd looked at her in the hallway, about how her heart had responded. This was dangerous territory. He was her boss. He'd saved her when she was desperate. Gratitude and attraction were easy to confuse. But what she felt didn't quite match either. It was something else. Something that scared and excited her in equal measure. Her phone buzzed. A text from Harrison. "Forgot to tell you, great work on the Morrison presentation materials. The client was very impressed. Well done." She smiled and texted back, "Thank you. Happy to help." His response came quickly, "See you tomorrow?" 3 simple words. But Renee found herself reading them twice, her smile refusing to fade. Winter arrived early that year, bringing sharp winds and the first snow in mid-November. Renee stood at her desk, watching white flakes drift past the windows of the 30th floor, feeling grateful for her warm office and steady paycheck. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Harrison's voice came from behind her. She turned. He'd taken off his suit jacket and rolled up his sleeves, a sign he'd been deep in work. His hair was slightly mussed where he'd run his hands through it, something he did when he was thinking hard. "It is," Renee agreed. "Amara will be thrilled. She's been hoping for snow since Halloween." "How is she doing? Still improving?" "Her doctor says she's doing great." The consistent treatment made all the difference. Renee paused, then added, "I never properly thanked you for that. For the insurance. For giving me the means to take care of her." Harrison shook his head. "You've thanked me plenty. Besides, you've more than earned it. The Westfield contract alone justified your entire year's salary." That was true. Renee had noticed a pattern in how Harrison approached clients and had suggested a different angle for their pitch to Westfield Industries. Harrison had listened, adapted his strategy, and landed a $3 million contract. He'd given her full credit in front of the entire executive team. "Still," she said, "I wanted you to know it matters. What you did for us matters." Their eyes met and held. The moment stretched, charged with something Renee couldn't quite name. Then Harrison's phone rang, breaking the spell. "I should take this," he said, glancing at the screen. "It's the Tokyo office." "Of course." He walked back to his office and Renee returned to her desk. But her hands were shaking slightly as she typed, and she had to delete and retype the same email 3 times before getting it right. That evening, Harrison asked if she'd stay late to help prepare for a major presentation the next day. Renee called Mrs. Chen to arrange for her to keep Amara overnight, something that happened occasionally now. The older woman had become more than just a babysitter, she was a friend and trusted part of Renee's support system. By 8 p.m. they'd been working for 3 hours straight. The conference room was covered in papers, sticky notes, and half-empty coffee cups. The presentation was coming together beautifully, but both of them were exhausted. "We need a break," Harrison declared, standing and stretching. "I can't look at another pie chart. Come on." He led her to a small break room she hadn't known existed. It was clearly meant for executive use. Nice furniture, a small kitchenette, and a window seat overlooking the city lights. Harrison pulled containers from the refrigerator. "I had my dinner delivered hours ago and never ate it. Want to share? It's from that Italian place on 5th Avenue. You don't have to share your dinner. Renee, we've been working together for 2 months now. You can accept a meal without it being a big deal." His tone was gentle but firm. She smiled. "Okay. Thank you." They sat at the small table, dividing pasta and salad between them. For a while they ate in comfortable silence. Then Harrison asked, "Tell me about Amara. What's she like when she's not sick?" Renee's whole face lit up. "She's creative. Always drawing or building things. She wants to be an architect when she grows up so she can design houses that look like castles. She's also stubborn like her mother. And kind. She brings extra snacks to school for kids who might not have lunch. She sounds wonderful." "She is." Renee set down her fork. "What about you? What were you like as a kid?" Harrison laughed. "Serious? Too serious probably. My dad ran a small hardware store and I used to help out after school. I loved the business side of it. Inventory, ordering, customer service. By the time I was 12, I was running the books." "Is that how you got into business?" "Partly. But it was more than that. I watched my dad struggle. He worked so hard but he never quite got ahead. I realized he was limited by scale. So I became obsessed with growth strategies, scalability, efficiency. I wanted to build something that could thrive, not just survive." "And you did," Renee said. "Bennett Industries is incredible." "It is," Harrison agreed. "But you know what I realized recently? Building something successful is one thing. Having someone to share it with is another. I've been so focused on growth that I forgot about the rest of life." The vulnerability in his voice made Renee's breath catch. "You have people," she said softly. "Your employees respect you. Your business partners trust you. That's professional. I mean personal." He looked at her directly. "I don't have family. My parents passed away years ago. No siblings. I've dated but nothing serious. Work always came first. And now I'm 38, sitting in my office at 8 p.m., and the best part of my day is spending it with my assistant." Renee's heart pounded. "Harrison. I'm not saying that to make you uncomfortable," he said quickly. "I'm just being honest. You asked what I was like, and the truth is, I'm someone who's built a successful company but a pretty empty personal life. Until you showed up in my conference room by accident, I didn't realize how empty." "I don't think your life is empty," Renee said. "I think you've been waiting for the right person to share it with." "Maybe." He smiled, but there was something wistful in it. "What about you? Your ex-husband was a fool to walk away." Renee stiffened. She didn't talk about James often. He couldn't handle it when Amara got sick. He wanted the perfect family, the easy life. When things got hard, he left. I haven't heard from him in over a year. His loss, Harrison said firmly. You're one of the strongest people I've ever met. I don't feel strong most days. I feel like I'm barely keeping it together. That's what strength is. Keeping it together when everything's falling apart. You did that. You're doing it now. He reached across the table and gently took her hand. You should give yourself more credit. His hand was warm, his touch gentle. Renee knew she should pull away. This was crossing a line. But she didn't want to. Instead, she let herself hold on for just a moment longer. Then Harrison's phone buzzed on the table. He reluctantly let go of her hand to check it. It's a message from the Tokyo team. They need revisions to the contract by tomorrow morning. He sighed. I should handle this. Do you mind if we call it a night? We're in good shape for tomorrow's presentation. Of course. Renee gathered her things, hyper-aware that something significant had just happened between them. In the elevator down, they stood side by side. Harrison caught her reflection in the polished doors and smiled. Thank you for staying late, he said. Anytime, Renee replied. And she meant it. When she got home, Amara was sleeping soundly in her bed. Mrs. Chin reported everything had gone well, declined payment for the extra hours, and patted Renee's hand on her way out. That job is good for you, the older woman said. You look happy. Alone in her quiet apartment, Renee admitted the truth. She was happy. For the first time since Amara got sick, maybe even since before her marriage fell apart, she felt genuinely happy. And Harrison was a big part of that happiness. She should be worried about that. Instead, she found herself hoping tomorrow would come quickly. December arrived with holiday lights and festive decorations throughout Bennett Industries. Renee coordinated the office Christmas party, managed gift exchanges for clients, and somehow kept Harrison's schedule on track despite the seasonal chaos. She thrived on the challenge. One morning, Harrison called her into his office with an unusual request. How do you feel about house calls? He asked, looking slightly sheepish. House calls. My housekeeper is on vacation for 2 weeks. I need someone to let in a repair person tomorrow afternoon, and I can't leave the office because of back-to-back meetings. Would you mind? I'll pay you overtime, obviously. Of course, Renee said. What time? 2 p.m. I'll text you the address and the gate code. The next afternoon, Renee found herself driving a company car, another benefit she was still getting used to Harrison's house. She'd expected something impressive, but the reality took her breath away. The house was a modern masterpiece of glass and steel, set on 5 acres of landscaped grounds. Inside, everything was beautiful but oddly impersonal, like a showroom rather than a home. The repair person fixed the heating system quickly. After they left, Renee found herself walking through the rooms, taking in the details. Every surface was clean and organized, but there were no photos on the walls. No personal touches. The kitchen looked barely used. The living room furniture was positioned perfectly but showed no signs of actually being lived in. This house, beautiful as it was, felt lonely. On impulse, Renee found a notepad and pen in the kitchen. She wrote, "Heater is fixed. Everything looks good. But I think your house is sad. It needs photos and mess in life. Just my opinion. See you tomorrow." She left the note on his kitchen counter and locked up. The next morning, Harrison was already at his desk when she arrived. He held up her note. "My house is sad?" he asked, but he was smiling. "I shouldn't have written that," Renee said, mortified. "It was unprofessional. It was honest. And you're right. I bought that house 5 years ago as an investment. I sleep there, but I don't live there." "Not really." "Why not?" Harrison shrugged. "I don't know how. My life has been about work for so long, I forgot how to do anything else." An idea formed in Renee's mind. A bold, possibly overstepping idea. But Harrison had said he valued honesty. "Come to dinner," she said. "What?" "Come to dinner at my apartment. This Saturday. Nothing fancy, just me and Amara. Let me show you what a home that's actually lived in looks like." Harrison looked surprised, then pleased. "I'd like that. Thank you." Saturday evening, Renee's small apartment was a whirlwind of activity. Amara helped set the table while Renee cooked spaghetti with meat sauce, her daughter's favorite. The apartment was tiny compared to Harrison's house, but it was warm and filled with life. Amara's artwork covered the refrigerator. Photos in mismatched frames lined the walls. A basket of folded laundry sat in the corner because Renee hadn't had time to put it away yet. When Harrison arrived, he brought flowers for Renee and a children's book about architecture for Amara. You remembered she wants to be an architect, Renee said, touched. I remember everything you tell me, Harrison replied. Dinner was chaotic in the best way. Amara chattered non-stop, telling Harrison about school, her art projects, her friends, her dreams. Harrison listened to every word, asking questions, laughing at her jokes, treating her like her opinions mattered. Watching them together made something in Renee's chest feel too full. After dinner, Amara showed Harrison her drawings. She'd been working on a design for a castle house, complete with towers and a moat. This is impressive, Harrison said, examining the careful lines. You've thought about everything. Windows, doors, even structural support. Mama says if I work hard I can be whatever I want, Amara said seriously. Your mama is absolutely right. And you know what? If you still want to be an architect when you're older, you come talk to me. Bennett Industries works with the best architects in the city. I'll introduce you. Amara threw her arms around his neck. You're the best, Mr. Bennett. Harrison hugged her back and over her head, his eyes met Renee's. The look in them made her heart stop and restart. Later, after Amara was in bed, Renee and Harrison sat on her small couch with cups of coffee. Thank you for tonight, Harrison said. I can't remember the last time I felt this. Normal? In the best way. You're welcome anytime, Renee said. Amara adores you. The feeling is mutual. She's a special kid. He paused, then added, You're a special person, Renee. The way you've built this life, raised your daughter through impossible circumstances, stayed kind and hopeful. I admire you more than you know. I'm not special. I'm just doing what any mother would do. No, Harrison said firmly. You're doing what any strong, capable, remarkable mother would do. Don't diminish yourself. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Renee asked, Can I ask you something personal? Anything. Why haven't you ever settled down? Built a family? You clearly have so much to give. Harrison was quiet for a long time. Fear, maybe. My parents had a good marriage, but my dad worked himself to death trying to provide. My mom was alone for the last 15 years of her life. I think I convinced myself that success and family couldn't coexist. That I had to choose. That's not true, Renee said softly. Look at us tonight. You were happy. We were happy. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. I'm starting to understand that. Harrison turned to look at her. Being around you and Amara is showing me what I've been missing. What I want. What do you want? Renee asked, her voice barely above a whisper. This, Harrison said simply. I want this. He leaned closer and Renee's breath caught. She should stop this. But she didn't want to. She wanted whatever was about to happen more than she'd wanted anything in years. Harrison's phone rang. They both froze, then laughed at the terrible timing. Harrison checked his phone and sighed. It's an emergency. The server farm in California is having issues. I need to handle this. Of course, Renee said, trying to hide her disappointment. Harrison stood, reluctant. At the door he turned back. Renee? Tonight it meant everything to me. Can we do this again? I'd like that, she said. After he left, Renee leaned against her closed door, heart racing. Something was growing between them, something real and precious and terrifying. She should be careful. She should protect herself and Amara. But when she thought about the look in Harrison's eyes as he'd hugged her daughter, as he'd listened to their stories, as he'd said he wanted this, maybe sometimes the best protection was simply to trust. Want to see where Renee and Harrison's story goes next? Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single chapter. Sometimes the best love stories start with a mistake that turns into fate. January brought bitter cold and a new challenge. Thomas Wright, Harrison's business partner and CFO, had returned from his extended vacation abroad. Thomas was a practical man in his early 50s who'd co-founded Bennett Industries with Harrison 15 years ago. He valued efficiency, clear boundaries, and traditional business structures. He did not approve of Renee. She realized this within minutes of meeting him. Thomas walked into the office on a Monday morning, his expression sharp and assessing. When Harrison introduced Renee as his new assistant, Thomas's handshake was perfunctory and cold. Miss Thompson, he said. I understand you've been here 3 months now. How are you finding the position? It's been wonderful, Renee replied, keeping her voice professional. I'm learning a lot. I'm sure. His tone suggested the opposite. Harrison, can we speak privately? They disappeared into Harrison's office. Through the closed door, Renee could hear the rise and fall of voices but couldn't make out words. When Thomas emerged 30 minutes later, He gave Renee a tight smile and left without another word. Harrison appeared at his doorway. "Renee, can you come in?" She followed him into his office, noting the tension in his shoulders. "Thomas has concerns," Harrison said carefully. "About us. Us. He thinks I'm blurring personal and professional lines. He pointed out that I hired you under unusual circumstances, that I've given you unusual access to business discussions, and that—" He paused. "That people in the office have noticed we've grown close." Renee felt her stomach drop. "I've been completely professional. I know. This isn't about your behavior. It's about perception." Harrison ran a hand through his hair. "Thomas thinks it looks bad. That clients might question my judgment. That employees might feel I'm showing favoritism. Am I being fired?" The question came out steady despite the fear racing through her. "God, no." Harrison looked horrified. "Renee, no. Never. You're the best assistant I've ever had, and more than that, you've become." He stopped, seeming to struggle with words. "You've become important to me. As a colleague, as a friend, as what?" Renee prompted gently. Harrison met her eyes. "I think you know what. I think you've known for a while, just like I have." "Then what are we doing?" Renee asked. "Are we pretending we don't feel whatever this is? Are we supposed to ignore it for the sake of appearances?" "I don't know," Harrison admitted. "I don't want to put you in a difficult position. Your job, your benefits, Amara's healthcare, they all depend on me. That creates a power imbalance that I never want to exploit." Renee understood what he was saying. She appreciated his integrity. But frustration rose in her chest anyway. "So because you helped me when I was desperate, we can never be anything more than boss and assistant?" she asked. "That feels like punishment for both of us." "It's not punishment. It's protecting you." "I don't need protection, Harrison. I need honesty. Do you have feelings for me or not?" The question hung in the air between them. Harrison looked at her with such intensity that Renee's breath caught. "Yes," he said simply. "I have feelings for you. Strong ones. Feelings that keep me awake at night. Feelings that make me check the clock every morning waiting for you to arrive. Feelings that made me fall in love with your daughter almost as fast as I fell for you." Renee's heart pounded. "Then why are we fighting this?" "Because I'm terrified of hurting you. Of putting you in a position where you feel obligated because of everything I've done. I never want you to be with me out of gratitude or fear of losing your job." "That's not what this is," Renee said firmly. "Yes, I'm grateful. But gratitude doesn't make my heart race when you smile. Gratitude doesn't make me want to tell you about every small thing that happens in my day. Gratitude doesn't make me imagine what it would be like to build a life with someone. That's not obligation, Harrison. That's just feelings. Real ones." Harrison closed his eyes. When he opened them, they were full of longing and conflict. What if Thomas is right? What if people think you're only here because of personal reasons? "Then I'll prove them wrong," Renee said. "I'm good at my job. You know it, I know it. People want to talk, let them talk. I'm not going to give up something real because of what strangers might think." "You make it sound simple." "Maybe it is simple. Do you want to be with me?" "Yes." "Do I want to be with you?" "I hope so. I do." "So what's complicated about that?" Harrison laughed, but it sounded almost defeated. "Everything. My position, your position, the company, the optics, Thomas's concerns, making sure you never feel pressured." Renee walked around his desk and took his hands. "Listen to me. I know the complications. I'm not naive. But I also know that good things don't come without risk. You took a risk hiring me. I took a risk accepting. Those risks change both our lives for the better. Maybe this is another one of those moments. And if it doesn't work out? If we try this and it falls apart? Then we deal with it like adults. But Harrison, if we don't try, we'll spend the rest of our lives wondering what if. I don't want that. Do you?" He pulled her closer, their hands still linked. "No. I don't want that at all." "Then let's be brave," Renee whispered. Harrison looked at her for a long moment. She could see the war happening inside him, between caution and desire, between protecting her and wanting her. Finally, something in his expression shifted, settled, decided. "Okay," he said. "Okay. Let's be brave together." He leaned down and kissed her, and it was everything Renee had imagined. Gentle but certain, sweet but with an edge of heat that made her knees weak. His hands came up to cup her face and she melted into him, letting herself feel everything she'd been holding back for months. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Harrison rested his forehead against hers. "We should probably have a conversation about how to handle this professionally," he said. Renee laughed. "Probably. but maybe later. Later, Harrison agreed and kissed her again. That evening, Renee picked up Amara from Mrs. Chen's apartment with a smile she couldn't suppress. Her daughter noticed immediately. "You look happy, Mama. Did something good happen?" "Something very good," Renee confirmed. "Remember Mr. Bennett?" "Harrison. The one who came for dinner?" "Yes. Well, he and we're going to spend more time together. Is that okay with you?" Amara considered this with the seriousness only a 7-year-old could muster. "Will he be around a lot?" "Maybe. Would that bother you?" "No," Amara decided. "I like him. He listens when I talk about my castle designs. And he makes you smile." Renee hugged her daughter tight. "He does make me smile." Later, after Amara was asleep, Renee called her best friend Patricia, the nurse from the hospital where Amara received treatment. They'd become close over the past year, bonding over late-night emergency room visits and shared struggles. "You did what?" Patricia shrieked over the phone. "I kissed my boss," Renee repeated, laughing. "Or he kissed me. It was mutual. Girl, this is the best news I've heard all month. That man has been in love with you since day one. Anyone with eyes could see it." "You think so?" "I know so. The way he looks at you when he brings Amara to her appointments? Like you hung the moon. He's good people, Renee. And you deserve good people in your life. What if it's too soon? What if I'm making a mistake? What if you're not?" Patricia countered. "What if this is exactly what you're supposed to be doing? Trust yourself. Trust him. And for heaven's sake, enjoy it. You've earned some happiness." After they hung up, Renee lay in bed thinking about Patricia's words. She had earned this. She'd survived impossible circumstances, raised her daughter through a health crisis, rebuilt her life from nothing. If good things were coming her way now, she wouldn't sabotage them with doubt. She'd be brave. Just like she'd told Harrison. And maybe, just maybe, brave would lead to happy. February arrived with Valentine's Day decorations and a change in Harrison and Renee's relationship. They were careful at work, maintaining professional boundaries and giving Thomas Wright no ammunition for his concerns. But outside the office they spent almost every evening together. Harrison brought dinner to Renee's apartment 3 nights a week. They'd cook together, eat with Amara, then talk for hours after she went to bed. Other nights he'd take them out, to child-friendly restaurants where Amara could color on the paper tablecloths, to the science museum where they all marveled at exhibits, to the park where Harrison taught Amara to fly a kite. Slowly, carefully they were building something real. Amara bloomed under the attention. Her health continued to improve, and her personality emerged more fully. She was creative, funny, stubborn, and fiercely loving. Harrison treated her like she was already his, and the little girl responded by trusting him completely. One Saturday they spent the day at Harrison's house. Amara had begged to see it, so Harrison gave them the full tour. Then he surprised them both. "I thought maybe we could make this place feel less sad," he said, echoing Renee's note from months ago. "Want to help me pick out some photos to hang? Maybe some plants?" They spent hours online choosing frames and artwork. Amara picked out colorful throw pillows for the living room. Renee selected plants for the kitchen and office. Harrison ordered everything on the spot, his credit card making the transformation possible with a few clicks. "It's going to look like people actually live here," Renee teased. "That's the goal," Harrison replied. "I want it to be a home. For the first time in my life, I want that." He was looking at her when he said it, and Renee understood the implication. He wanted a home with her. The thought should have terrified her. Instead, it felt right. That evening, after they'd put Amara to bed at Renee's apartment, Harrison asked if they could talk. His tone was serious, making Renee nervous. They sat on her couch, the same spot where they'd shared coffee months ago. Harrison took her hands. "I need to tell you something," he began. "And I need you to really hear me, okay?" "Okay," Renee said, her heart racing. "Before you walked into my life, I was going through the motions. I had money, success, a company I'd built from nothing. But I was lonely in a way I didn't even recognize because it had been my normal for so long. Work was everything because there was nothing else." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "That first day when you told me about Amara, about your struggles, about everything you were facing, something in me woke up. Not pity. I want to be clear about that. It was recognition. I recognized your strength, your determination, your refusal to give up even when everything was against you. And I wanted to know you better. I remember," Renee said softly. "I thought I was just helping someone who needed help. That's how I justified it to myself. But the truth is I was already falling for you. The way you thanked me but didn't grovel. The way you immediately started working twice as hard as necessary to prove yourself. The way you talked about Amara with such fierce love. Every day I fell a little more. Tears pricked Renee's eyes. Harrison. Let me finish, he said gently. These past few months with you and Amara, they've been the happiest of my life. Coming to your apartment feels more like home than my house ever did. Listening to Amara's stories makes me smile for hours afterward. And being with you, really being with you, it's shown me what I've been missing my entire adult life. He took a deep breath. I love you, Renee. I'm in love with you. I love your strength and your kindness. I love how you make me want to be better. I love watching you with Amara. I love that you tell me when I'm wrong and celebrate when I'm right. I love everything about you and I needed you to know that. Renee was crying now, happy tears streaming down her face. I love you too. I've been trying not to because it felt too fast and too complicated, but I can't help it. I love you, Harrison. He kissed her then, deep and thorough, pouring everything he felt into the contact. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. There's something else, he said. A question actually. Not the question not yet. But an important question anyway. What is it? Will you let me be part of Amara's life? Officially, I mean. I don't want to overstep or move too fast. But I love that little girl like she's mine. I want to be there for her doctor appointments, her school events, her daily life. I want to be someone she can count on. Is that okay? Renee pulled back to look at him fully. The vulnerability in his face, the hope mixed with fear, made her love him even more. It's more than okay, she said. Amara adores you. She told me last week that she wishes you were her dad. I think she'd be thrilled to have you more involved in her life. Really? Harrison's smile was brilliant. Really? But Harrison, you need to understand what you're signing up for. Kids are messy and loud and exhausting. There will be bad days and meltdowns and times when nothing makes sense. It's not always sweet moments and kite flying. I know, Harrison said. And I want all of it. The good days and the hard days. I want to be there through everything. I want to be a family, Renee. The three of us. Then we're a family, Renee said, fresh tears flowing. Starting right now. They held each other on that couch for a long time, planning and dreaming about their future. Harrison talked about taking them on vacation, maybe to the beach where Amara had never been. Renee talked about moving to a bigger apartment now that her finances were stable, somewhere with a yard for Amara to play. Harrison quietly suggested that maybe, eventually, they wouldn't need separate apartments at all. It was late when Harrison finally left. At the door, he kissed her one more time. I meant every word, he said. I love you. I love Amara. This is real for me. It's real for me too, Renee promised. After he left, she stood in her small living room, looking at the life she'd built from rubble. 3 months ago, she'd been evicted and desperate. Now she had love, stability, hope, and a future that looked bright. Sometimes the wrong elevator led to exactly the right place. Spring arrived with cherry blossoms and new possibilities. Harrison and Renee's relationship deepened week by week. They were no longer hiding, though they remained professional at work. Thomas Wright had grudgingly accepted the situation after Harrison made it clear that Renee's position was based on merit, not favoritism. Her performance reviews, conducted by HR independently, proved it. Harrison started spending more nights at Renee's apartment than at his own house. He kept a drawer of clothes there, a toothbrush in the bathroom. Amara started calling him Harrison instead of Mr. Bennett, and sometimes in unguarded moments she'd slip and call him Dad. Neither Harrison nor Renee corrected her. One Saturday in late March, Harrison took them to the aquarium. Amara pressed her face against the glass of the shark tank, fascinated. Harrison and Renee stood behind her, his arm around her waist. She's happy, Renee observed. Really genuinely happy. I haven't seen her this carefree since before she got sick. She's healthy, Harrison said. Her last checkup was perfect, right? Perfect. The doctor said she's responding so well to treatment that we might be able to reduce her medication next year. Renee leaned into Harrison's warmth. That wouldn't have been possible without you. Without the insurance, without the stability you gave us. You would have found a way, Harrison said. You're the strongest person I know. Maybe. But I'm glad I didn't have to do it alone this time. After the aquarium, they drove to a lakeside cabin Harrison had rented for the weekend. It was small but beautiful, right on the water with a deck overlooking the lake. Amara ran around exploring while Renee and Harrison unpacked the car. How did you find this place? Renee asked, carrying grocery bags into the kitchen. I've been looking for somewhere we could go together. Away from the city, from work, from everything. Just us. Harrison set down his bags and pulled her close. I wanted to make a memory with you too. Something special. That weekend was everything Renee could have hoped for. They cooked together, played board games, walked along the lake shore. Harrison taught Amara to skip stones across the water. They made s'mores over the fire pit and told stories under the stars. On Sunday evening as they packed to leave, Amara asked, "Can we come back here?" "Definitely," Harrison promised. "Anytime you want." "What if we came back for my birthday? It's in July. Mama always says we'll do something special, but we never have money for trips." Harrison glanced at Renee, checking. She nodded, smiling. "I think that's a perfect idea. We'll plan a birthday trip." The drive home was quiet, all three of them tired but content. Amara fell asleep in the back seat. Harrison reached over and took Renee's hand. "Thank you for this weekend," he said. "For letting me be part of these moments." "Thank you for wanting to be part of them," Renee replied. The next few weeks brought a new development. Harrison started looking at houses. Not mansions or showpieces, but real family homes with yards and good school districts. He showed Renee listings on his tablet during their lunch breaks. "This one has 4 bedrooms, he'd say. "One for us, one for Amara, one for a home office, and one for guests. And look at this backyard. Perfect for a swing set." Renee's heart would skip at the casual way he said, "us," and "for Amara." He was planning a future that included them both, and he did it so naturally, like there had never been any other option. One evening in late April, Harrison sat at Renee's kitchen table helping Amara with a math assignment. Renee cooked dinner, listening to their conversation. "But why do I need to know fractions?" Amara complained. "When will I use this?" "All the time," Harrison said seriously. "When you're an architect, you'll need fractions for measurements. If a wall needs to be 3/4 the height of another wall, you need to know fractions to calculate that." "Oh." Amara considered this. "That makes sense. Okay, show me again." Harrison patiently walked her through the problem. Renee watched them, her heart full to bursting. This was what family looked like. Not perfect, not always easy, but real and loving and steady. After dinner, after Amara was in bed, Harrison helped Renee clean up. "You're good with her," Renee said, washing dishes while Harrison dried. "She makes it easy. She's a great kid." "She is. But you're also patient and kind, and you actually listen to her." Her own father barely did that before he left. Harrison set down the dish he was drying and turned Renee to face him. "I'm not her father. But I want to be. In every way that matters, I want to be the one she counts on. Is that okay?" "It's more than okay. But Harrison, you need to understand that if you commit to this, to us, you can't change your mind later. Amara's already attached to you. If you left, it would break her heart." "I'm not leaving," Harrison said firmly. "I know you're scared because of what James did. But I'm not him. I'm here for the long haul. For good days and bad days. For sickness and health. For every moment of every day I'm here." "For sickness and health," Renee repeated. "That sounds like a proposal?" Harrison smiled. "Not yet. But soon. Very soon. I just want you to be ready." "I think I'm ready now," Renee whispered. "Good," Harrison said and kissed her softly. "Because I've been carrying a ring in my pocket for 2 weeks, waiting for the perfect moment." Renee gasped. "You have a ring?" "I have a ring. I had it custom made. But I want to do this right. I want it to be perfect for you and for Amara." He touched her face gently. "Just be patient a little longer. I promise it will be worth the wait." That night, lying in bed alone, Renee thought about everything that had happened since that desperate day when she'd walked into the wrong interview. She'd been broken, terrified, out of options. Now she had a job she loved, a daughter who was thriving, and a man who wanted to build a life with them. Sometimes mistakes led to miracles. She fell asleep smiling, dreaming of the future they were building together. May brought warm weather and plans for Amara's July birthday trip. Harrison had the cabin booked for a full week. They'd planned hiking, swimming, and a birthday picnic by the lake. Amara talked about it constantly, counting down the days. Everything was perfect. Too perfect, maybe. On a Tuesday morning in mid-May, Renee got a call from Amara's school nurse. Her daughter had complained of feeling dizzy during recess. She had a fever. Could Renee pick her up? Panic hit Renee like a physical blow. The autoimmune disorder. It had been so stable. What if it was flaring up? What if the medication wasn't working anymore? What if all the progress they'd made was disappearing? She rushed out of the office, barely stopping to tell Harrison where she was going. He followed her to the elevator. "I'm coming with you," he said. "You have meetings. They can wait. You're scared and I'm not letting you do this alone. They picked up Amara from school and drove straight to the hospital. The same hospital where they'd been so many times before, where Patricia worked, where Renee had spent countless terrified hours. In the waiting room, Amara curled up in Renee's lap, listless and warm. Harrison sat beside them, one hand on Renee's shoulder, offering silent support. What if it's back? Renee whispered. What if she's getting worse again? We don't know that, Harrison said calmly, though she could hear the worry in his voice. Let's wait for the doctor. Patricia appeared, her nurse's uniform crisp and professional. But her eyes were kind as she looked at Renee. Hey sweetie, she said to Amara. Let's get you checked out, okay? They followed her to an exam room. A doctor Renee knew well, Dr. Martinez, came in to examine Amara. He checked her temperature, listened to her heart and lungs, asked questions about her symptoms. I'm going to run some tests, he said. Just to be thorough. Blood work, throat swab, the usual. It might take a couple of hours for results. Is it her autoimmune condition? Renee asked, her voice tight. Let's not assume anything yet. Fever and dizziness can mean a lot of things. Let's see what the tests tell us. The next 2 hours were agony. Renee sat in the waiting room with Amara sleeping against her, and Harrison beside her holding her hand. They didn't talk much. There wasn't anything to say that would make this easier. Patricia brought them coffee. She sat with them for a few minutes on her break. She's going to be okay, Patricia said. I can feel it. You can't know that, Renee said, tears threatening. No. But I believe it anyway. Sometimes belief is all we have. Finally, Dr. Martinez appeared in the waiting room doorway. Renee's heart stopped. Renee, Harrison, can you come with me? They followed him to a private consultation room, Amara still sleeping in Renee's arms. Renee's hands shook. Harrison's arm around her was the only thing keeping her upright. Dr. Martinez sat down across from them. He was smiling. Renee's brain couldn't process that. Why would he smile if the news was bad? It's a virus, Dr. Martinez said. A common spring virus, nothing more. Completely unrelated to Amara's autoimmune condition. Her blood work actually shows continued improvement. The treatment is working beautifully. This is just a regular childhood illness. She'll be fine in a few days with rest and fluids. The relief was so intense that Renee couldn't breathe. You're sure? I'm positive. The throat swab confirms it's a viral infection. Her immune markers are stable. This is actually good news in a way. It means her immune system is responding to threats normally, which shows how well the medication is managing her condition. Renee burst into tears. All the terror, all the what-ifs, all the fear she'd been holding for hours poured out. Harrison held her, his own eyes wet. Thank you, he said to Dr. Martinez, his voice rough. Thank you so much. She's a strong kid, the doctor said. You've both done an amazing job managing her care. Keep doing what you're doing. I'll write a prescription for the virus symptoms, but mostly she just needs rest. After Dr. Martinez left, Renee and Harrison sat alone in the consultation room. Amara stirred, woke up, looked at her mother's face. Mama, why are you crying? Happy tears, baby, Renee managed. Happy tears because you're going to be just fine. I told you I just felt yucky. You worry too much. Amara's voice was matter-of-fact, so innocent, so unaware of the terror she'd caused. Harrison laughed, the sound slightly hysterical. She's right. She told us. They took Amara home with medication for her symptoms and instructions to rest. Mrs. Chin met them at the apartment, having heard about the hospital visit. She hugged them all, fussed over Amara, and promised to check in tomorrow. After settling Amara in bed with juice and her favorite cartoon, Renee collapsed onto the couch. Harrison sat beside her, pulling her close. That was terrifying, Renee said. It was, Harrison agreed. But she's okay. She's going to be okay. I kept thinking about everything we've planned. The cabin trip, her birthday, all the time we thought we'd have. And I realized how much I need this. How much I need you and her and this life we're building. Harrison pulled back to look at her. His eyes were serious, intense. Renee, I need to say something. Okay. I was sitting in that waiting room watching you hold Amara, thinking about how much I love you both. And I realized I couldn't wait anymore for the perfect moment. Because this, right now, even after everything we just went through, this is perfect. You're perfect. This is our life with all its scary moments and beautiful moments. And I don't want to spend another day without making this official. He stood up and pulled a small blue box from his pocket. Then he got on one knee right there in Renee's tiny living room, with its mismatched furniture and Amara's drawings on the walls. Renee Thompson, you walked into my life by accident and changed everything. You showed me what home feels like. You taught me that success without love is empty. You and Amara became my family before I even realized I needed one. I love you with everything I have. Will you marry me? Renee looked at him kneeling there, this man who had saved her when she was desperate, who had fallen in love with her daughter, who had proven over and over that he was steady and true. Tears streamed down her face, but she was smiling. Yes, she said. Yes, I'll marry you. Harrison opened the box. The ring inside was beautiful, simple elegance with small diamonds catching the light. He slipped it onto her finger and it fit perfectly. They kissed there on the couch, sealing the promise. When they finally pulled apart, both laughing and crying, they heard a sound from Amara's room. Did you say yes, Mama? They turned to find Amara standing in her bedroom doorway, looking tired but alert. You're supposed to be resting, Renee said. I heard talking. Did Harrison ask you to marry him? Yes, he did. And I said yes. Amara ran across the room and threw herself at Harrison. He caught her, lifting her up despite Dr. Martinez's instructions about rest. Does this mean you're going to be my dad? Amara asked. Harrison's eyes met Renee's over their daughter's head. If that's okay with you. It's very okay, Amara said seriously. I've been wishing for it for a really long time. They stood there in the middle of the small apartment, the three of them holding each other, and Renee felt completely, perfectly whole. 6 months later, they gathered in a small garden for their wedding. The day was beautiful, warm but not too hot, with a gentle breeze carrying the scent of roses. Amara wore a red dress and carried a bouquet of white flowers as the flower girl. Patricia stood as Renee's maid of honor. Thomas Wright, who'd become genuinely warm toward Renee over the months, stood as Harrison's best man. Renee wore a simple white dress, her hair loose, her smile radiant. Harrison wore a navy suit and couldn't stop staring at her like she was the most amazing thing he'd ever seen. We gather today, the officiant began, to celebrate a love that started with a mistake and became exactly right. Harrison and Renee had written their own vows. Harrison went first, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. Renee, you walked into my life when I didn't know I was lost. You showed me that wealth isn't just about money. It's about love, family, connection, hope. You've given me everything that matters. I promise to love you and Amara, to protect you, to support you, to be worthy of the trust you've placed in me. I promise to be there for every doctor's appointment, every school play, every hard day and every beautiful day. I promise to build a home with you, a real home filled with laughter and love. You are my heart and I will spend the rest of my life proving it. Renee was crying before he finished. She took a breath, steadied herself and spoke her own vows. Harrison, you saved my life. Not just by giving me a job but by seeing me when I was invisible. You loved my daughter when you didn't have to. You showed me that accepting help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You taught me to hope again. I promise to love you with everything I have. I promise to be your partner in building the life we both want. I promise to let you be the father Amara deserves. I promise to never take for granted the gift of your love. You walked into the wrong room and found your family. Thank you for choosing us. The rings were exchanged. Amara presented them with great ceremony, her face serious and proud. When the officiant pronounced them married, Harrison kissed Renee like he was sealing the most important contract of his life. The reception was small, just close friends and family. They danced under string lights, ate good food and celebrated new beginnings. Amara danced with Harrison, standing on his feet like he'd taught her. Mrs. Chin cried happy tears. Patricia gave a toast about love finding those who deserve it. As the evening wound down, Harrison and Renee stood alone for a moment, watching everyone they loved celebrating together. We did it, Renee said. We actually built this life. We did, Harrison agreed. And it's just the beginning. What's next? Harrison smiled. Everything. The house I found has an offer in. We're moving in next month. Amara's birthday trip is coming up. And then the rest of our lives. Together. Together, Renee echoed. I like the sound of that. They kissed again, soft and sweet, promising everything. In the background, Amara laughed at something Patricia said. Music played. Stars appeared in the darkening sky. 1 year ago, Renee had been desperate, broken, out of options. She'd walked into the wrong elevator, the wrong interview, the wrong room entirely. But it had been so perfectly right. Sometimes mistakes lead to miracles. Sometimes the wrong door opens on exactly the right life. And sometimes, when you're brave enough to accept love when it's offered, when you let go of pride and just say yes, everything falls into place. Renee Thompson had learned all of this. She'd learned that kindness matters, that hope is powerful, and that love, when it's real, changes everything. She'd also learned that happy endings aren't endings at all. They're beginnings. And this beginning, this beautiful, imperfect, perfect beginning, was exactly where she was meant to be.